Okay, I've changed the way the collar is now, and it's like a wraparound collar, like a like a motorcycle jacket, like that. No, I want it to be like a pop collar, like sort of like a half priest was the exact terminology used.
It's quite complicated to get working. I know there was a fair amount of skepticism out there. You really gotta earn the belief. The game wasn't built.
Haven't had an opportunity to work on them, but they are in the works.
Refactor them, change things out, retrofit it, refactor them, refactor them. People program things.
This is bullshit.
It isn't true from day one. It wasn't 100% crowdfunded. I mean, it's been the narrative that they've sold everybody on, and this open development, which hasn't been open whatsoever. It's all been a sham to take your money. I mean, it's just a marketing tool. That's all it is. And then that was Turbulent's reason for stepping in and taking control of the crowdfunding, because Roberts had no idea. And all this Sandy Gardner is the best marketer since she was a little girl and all this other shit. It's all been Turbulent from the beginning.
You mentioned Turbulent, and this is a company that both Shroud of the Avatar and Cloud Imperium Games have relied on heavily in terms of this brave new world of game funding. Tell us, can you give us a little background history of that company? What do they do?
Well, so far what we know about Turbulent, they started quite some time ago, about 15 years ago. They've grown slowly up until the last 3 years, where they've tacked on tons of employees and tons of revenue, mostly for Star Citizen. Although that has slowed this year to zero new postings for jobs related to CryEngine or Star Citizen or RSI or CIG, whatever you want to call it. And they start out doing like mobile games and games for phones and trying to do different things in the gaming platforms. And they settled on this crowdfunding thing with Kickstarter, and have really, I think their thing is called Heap 3 or Heap. And that's what they use they talk about like how to convert different people over, like getting your friends involved and then getting those friends involved, because there's different ways of gifting them things or pulling them into the project. It's a very interesting thing. And I mean, there's a whole bunch of links on the Turbulent website that talk about how they have tried to convert people into backers across all of their games. I think they also did the Gears of War. No, it wasn't Gears of War. It was the Warhammer 40K MMO that they threw out there.
Okay. Oh, the Heap thing. Now, was that what Chris Roberts was talking about? Sort of like a platform for crowdfunding.
I'm pulling
a while ago.
I'm pulling up the slideshow they have. I've seen it before. It's kind of, wow, it's called Star Citizen, an intergalactic gaming platform. And it talks about, kind of the web store aspects or different features in the web store. But yeah, like the agent said, it has a lot of these, kind of the early form, kind of the marketing speak for CCUs and pledge upgrades, basically.
Yeah, and talking about how to convert all of that into more backers and to get everyone even more interested in the project.
Sure, the way it words it here is the community platform itself leverages and harnesses the tremendous power of its fan base to involve them in playtesting and balancing of game development.
Well, that latter part I probably wouldn't say has been happening.
But yeah, I'm just pulling random quotes here.
Oh, no, yeah.
We pioneer new and exciting ways to engage the fans, gather their feedback and value, in other words, dollars, and their original creations and insights. Basically, the sense that I get from Turbulent is, from their outward expression, is that they run the community side, the crowdfunding side. But the agent, you're seeing more than that. You're seeing job listings. You're seeing MoCap positions. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, and so that was a surprise to me too. that they had posted jobs on, I think it was Indeed Canada, since Turbulent's a Canadian company. And they specifically asked for people with CryEngine and MoCap experience in CryEngine programming. And this was probably late 2016, early 2017. And a lot of these were 6-month positions that were going to turn into full-time positions. So it's obvious Turbulent just isn't a the crowdfunding platform it used to be. It includes a lot more than that now.
They're pretty much they're an outside contractor pretty much right now.
Yeah, and they've grown. I mean, they had less than I believe it was 50 employees at the start of 2016, and now they're up to 125. And the majority of that was going to be funneling into Star Citizen.
I have to think some of that was driven by Cloud Imperium's incompetence and inability to get things done. I'm looking here on their website. It says some of their featured tech and services is Game Launcher, and amongst other things, Game Launcher. And it harkens back to the, what did they call it? The
Delta Launcher?
Yeah, the Delta Launcher, where instead of downloading the entire game, you'd only get the files that changed. And it was, I believe, this is not a secret. This is just like an open piece of information you can go find. Turbulent built the Delta Launcher.
And it still doesn't really work like it's supposed to, unfortunately.
I'm not too familiar with that, but it's like at some point Cloud Imperium just can't get anything done and pushes it off to these other companies. I mean, this is perhaps systemic from Chris, who kind of just wants to shoot the mocap and shoot the, rub elbows with actors and leave all the game development to, I forget the different companies that he's offloaded it to.
Oh, Jesus, there's a million of them.
Yeah, throw out some of those names. What was the one that working on AI?
Oh, that was Moon Collider / Kythera, I believe.
We haven't heard from them in a while, huh?
They're done. That was pulled in-house. That was pulled in-house in, I think, late 2016 or early 2017, which was heralded, by the way, by a lot of the backers as, thank God all these inept people are finally gone, and now Chris Roberts can oversee these people and really get it done right.
Yeah, much like the Ilphonic FPS thing, where somebody convinced Chris Roberts to pull it in-house after everything had been said and done.
Yeah, and that was I don't know how many millions they probably had to pay out to Ilphonic, but it was probably a pretty penny there.
So regarding Turbulent, the agent, you say you've seen a dramatic drop to 0 on job listings and their involvement with Star Citizen. Do you think their involvement's coming to a close, or what's going on there?
Well, so that was the big, after the Derek Smart reveal of the illegal Skadden lawsuit against CIG and Chris Roberts and all that. That was the next big thing I started hearing about, was that Turbulent was in the process of trying to sever ties because they were continued to owe money and they were not getting it.
Oh, that sounds familiar.
And a lot of this was based off of what a launch is. So if you look at, like, when Chris Roberts is saying this is early access right now, this is like the MVP of Star Citizen, and a lot of people are saying, well, this is still pre-alpha. I mean, that whole thing of launching now has definitely turned into what the fuck is the definition of launch. So I just don't know anymore if that was contingent on some sort of like contract they had that said, hey, Turbulent, we're going to launch in 2016 and then you're going to get 30% of everything we get in, or 15%. And now they're saying, well, we haven't really launched yet, even though the game is out and we're pulling in money for it, for all these pre-orders for ships, and people are playing, and we're saying everyone's having fun, and backers are saying there's more content than every AAA game ever made since 2002. I'm just not sure, what that contract between them. But that was the huge thing, is that they were pissed that they weren't getting what was owed to them.
Oh yeah, no, like I for myself as an investor, sort of like, I looked at my contract and sort of like, profit sharing is usually based upon sort of like the product launching and going to sales, and then those sales bring back profit. That's when a profit share or someone with shares will start to see the income come back in. And then when you start to befuddle the idea of what is a launch, that's when sort of like, I think one of the big movie industry ones was sort of like David Prowse's profit sharing with Lucasfilm based upon the earnings from, I think it was the Last Jedi.
Yeah, it was the final. Yeah.
So David Prowse actually got screwed out of profit sharing because they reported all those earnings to a different company. And so you could probably apply sort of like contracts with a company, and then the profits go to a different company and say, well, we didn't make any profits, so you don't get anything. Yeah, Hollywood accounting.
Yeah, and by the way, which our friend Ortwin is extremely comfortable doing. And Jesus Christ, looking through that guy's fucking history, sorry for the colorful language, but holy shit. That is a whole rabbit hole, and I know I posted about it before and kind of went through, and it started feeling like I was stalking him. Like I couldn't wait to find a used condom from him and bake a cake out of it or something. Like it was fucking weird. The stuff that guy has gone through.
Well, I mean, like the big thing that my research came up with was the Kevin Costner oral agreement violation case back in 2008, where pretty much Ortwin and Ascendant Pictures managed to rewrite Hollywood law by saying an oral agreement is now a legal agreement. I mean, sort of like, yeah, they affected Hollywood, but not in the best way.
Right.
Jumping back to Turbulent a little bit, you linked here their CMS, and yeah, their CMS has a lot to do with like combining the community, commerce, in an integrated software. I mean, no doubt this is some useful stuff, but Star Citizen, I mean, that's pretty much the entire game at this point.
And that's not the only thing that Turbulent has done for CIG either.
Yeah, correct. And this is the what I say to people when they talk about Star Citizen, or when I get drunk enough to talk about Star Citizen with them, is that you can go out and play Star Citizen right now. This is not a dream. Like, this isn't a pre-order for a game that's coming out in 12 years. You can literally go and play Star Citizen right now and base your opinions on it right now. And if you think it's a good game right now, I don't fucking understand where your brain is at. But like Turbulence, doing here, it's a interesting way of roping in more people to back the project. And also, sorry if there was a squeak. My dog decided to barge in here. She cares not for doors in this house. But yeah, there's the whole. They were hoping that this Warhammer game was also going to support them, and also that I think Shroud of the Avatar was going to be a lot bigger than it turned out to be. Although when people are buying a $30,000 virtual castle, I mean, how do you even begin to understand that kind of whale? And apparently Turbulent does. So they're very important to how this whole crowdfunding thing is working out.
I mean, it's funny that you say sort of like roping in backers to get excited into projects. And I kind of look back at like CIG, sort of like, CIG is looking for ways to rope other people into doing their core game development. And sort of like
the promise of Star Citizen, is like all encompassing, not just in the game world, but like outside. They think that one day voice communication will happen whether or not they're playing. They could just jump into voice chat with their guild friends. It's a little bit nuts, but Turbulent is cited as the most recent, work towards this in-game voice communication, which has been talked about somewhat, but never implemented.
All right. So this, oh my God, this whole face over IP thing. Oh Jesus. All right, so this is the same company, just renamed, and I don't know why everyone's saying this face over IP thing is new. It's the same fucking company that produced it for SOE back with EverQuest 2.
Wow.
It's the exact same company, just renamed, with the exact same people at the head of it.
Now, these guys actually did work with the Kinect as well, right? Because I remember there was a promotion for that.
I don't remember that specifically, but I remember all the Sony stuff because I used to work there back in the day. And it's, well, now it's Daybreak Games, and God knows what that Russian is doing with them. That's a whole nother rabbit hole to go down. Holy shit.
We'll jump over that one.
Is this Derek Smart's Twitter feed right now or what? Anyway. So I can't remember what they were called, but I believe it was and that's part of 3 Lateral, if I remember correctly. Was the face over IP stuff.
Right. And then just renamed to Faceware or whatever it is now.
Yeah, it's the Faceware Technologies. They were originally some other company that was doing the stuff for Sony Online Entertainment. Why they're rebranding a fucking webcam and doing all this stuff now? I mean, it should be insulting. If you're backing this game, if you're in love with Star Citizen, and hey, I actually want Star Citizen to come out and be fucking incredible. One, because I think it'll be the greatest engine full of grief ever created. I think that no matter who will play it, it's going to just cause you so much pain when you load up, because it's going to be a PvPer's fucking wet dream. And it's going to destroy you. But anyway, but I want Star Citizen to come out. I think it would be amazing. I really like the let me just say the fidelity. I think it looks great. I want to be a part of a project like that, and that's why I backed it. I backed Shroud of the Avatar. I have posters sitting in here signed by dev team members from a ton of Kickstarters. And I want those games to come out because I'm a huge gamer. This is my hobby. This is what I like to do. This is what I entertain myself with, and not like killing sharks and eating them for you out there and the Something Awful thread. But yeah, it's interesting that this is always touted as the next level of technology. Face over IP. My God, no one's done this. Well, fucking, it's the same company that did it like 8-10 years ago. So it's nothing new. And then like people going, wow, look at this movement. You could stand on a rock and like your foot comes up on the rock. It's like never been done before. I'm like, fucker, have you not played a PlayStation 3 game? Like that shit was in there, man. It's in
Skyrim.
It is. I mean, holy shit. It's nothing new. This stuff is nothing new. Now the scope, when you talk to me and you say, I'm going to have 3 cruisers fighting with a crew of, like, let's say 50 people each, with the fighters in the background, fighting over a planet that people will be fighting on, dropping bombs on them, at the same time fighting over this land, there's information runners running and doing all this stuff, I think that'd be awesome. How are you going to fucking do it? You just can't. You just can't do it right now. And so this is my big problem is when I recognize games that have promised or overpromised, and that's been something since the early 90s where these game companies will step in and be like, oh, there'll be your character will age, and then when you die your son will take over, and every decision you make in the whole game will change the face of the game forever. That's marketing speak, man, because when the game comes out, it's still a video game. It's not the fucking Matrix. You're not Neo running around being able to jump off walls and fucking fly spaceships and shit. It's a video game, and you're gonna get bored of it. Star Citizen will not be the last game you play, because in 6 months you will be out of content, and you'll be going, where the fuck is my content, Chris Roberts? You promised me all this shit, and I've given you 50 grand. By the way, that I actually like that Clifford guy. I think he's awesome. And there's a backer. I know there's a backer out there with over 100K in ships.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
they exist.
And so, and he was a big, like he like kept defending them, and for some reason, this Hercules thing has got him in a snit, which happens with a lot of people. I don't actually understand this whole LTI. I'm pissed about it.
Clifford's mad about it?
Oh no, not
No,
Clifford.
someone
The
else.
100,000 guy. Yeah. So I don't think I don't think they could ever refund someone with $100,000 in the project. That's just insane. I don't think
not at this point. No.
No, and I don't think they're gonna. This was leaked a lot back in 2016 and 2017. They were talking about how 2.6 that would be the end of refunds because it would constitute a major release, and a lot of people don't remember. I mean, this is the problem with Star Citizen 2, and we talked about this earlier, is that there's so much information out there. There's so much that has happened since 2011. It's hard to keep it all, relatively easy to access.
And not just that, but like conflicting information.
Yeah, exactly. And so if you kind of go back, you'll remember that 2.6 / 2.7 was supposed to be 3.0. That was supposed to include all this cool shit in 3.0, like the Stanton system and all this new technology about like I don't think service beacons were a thing, but like trading and mining and asteroids and all this cool shit was supposed to be 2.6. So I started getting leaks back then about how they're going to stop refunds once this major milestone happened. And I posted in the thread quite a bit saying, if you're looking to get out of Star Citizen, put your refund in now because they'll stop. And since 3.0 hit, they've stopped. They're essentially done with refunds.
Or at least sort of like they're giving a very big runaround on refunds.
Oh,
and
yeah.
They just don't have the heart to say no more refunds, period, full stop.
Yeah, and that was actually another leak that I got a while ago, was that what you do is you deny, like you just delay. You don't deny. You delay and delay and delay and delay without saying no as far as you can. And there was an earlier leak before that where it would be delay, delay, delay until a big sales happened, then you'd refund. But now it seems like it's delay, 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 never say no, just hope those people fucking go away.
Yeah.
And if they really want to, try suing them. I mean, welcome to the fucking American court system. Good luck getting your money in like 3.5 years.
Yeah. I mean, just like, I feel bad for the people that are starting to discover now and just say, maybe I should cut back on the amount of money I have or just get full refund. And now just sort of like everybody's waiting on the refund specialist. I wonder if they actually have a job listing for that.
I thought the same thing. I don't think I've ever seen it. But yeah, The Agent, you bring up a lot of different points. Some of my favorites are like, I don't understand what it is about this latest ship JPEG that has everyone suddenly about facing. It's a little bit crazy. I mean, none of this exploitive stuff is nothing we haven't seen in the past, but this time it's different. I've tried to guess at the cause, but maybe people like this ship more. Maybe it's really weird.
You got to remember, this is all cyclical, and we've seen this. It's anytime someone fucks with the ships or the LTI or anything, it's like it's a big deal. It's a big deal because that's really the only part of the game that's in and functional and you're paying for. 100%. I mean, you can talk about the games in pre-alpha, so all of the stuff that we're doing and the trading and the mining and, well, not the mining yet, but like the service beacons and all that stuff, that's all going to get figured out in the future. But you're laying out your credit card or whatever for a ship now, with systems now, with LTI right now. So that feels like the most complete part of Star Citizen.
Yeah, the money metagame.
Right, exactly. And this happens with it happened with Shadow the Avatar, and obviously this was a great idea by Turbulent. The problem is when you start getting into $600 or $700 ships, you're no longer talking about like whales. Like me, like I spend probably $800 a year on Warframe, and I think that's a lot of money. And I'm considered like a top tier whale with $800 in a year. But for Star Citizen, you don't start hitting like grand whale territory until you're about $2,500 to $10,000 a year in.
Yeah.
And that's a big difference. And the reason why this will go sour with more and more mechanics that they fully release, and why backers get upset about this kind of stuff, is because once it's in there and firm, right now Chris Roberts is promising you, if you want PvP, have PvP. If you want PvE, have PvE. If you want mining, trading, exploration, solar systems, first-person combat, tank combat, combined arms combat. If you want to role play in a Japanese RPG. If you want to get laid by ladyboys on Ladyboy like Alpha 7, go there. Do anything you fucking want. Star Citizen will have it for you.
I must have missed that stretch goal.
It's, well, haha, stretch goal indeed. So yes. So when you start promising all this stuff, right? You're promising all this gameplay. You're promising all these different things that will function seamlessly with one another, right? So whales come in and they say, oh, well, I like the PvP aspect, or I like the PvE aspect, or I like whatever aspect of this you're promising me. So the whales come in, they start buying heavy. They're at $2,500 or $5,000 a year now, right? Well, when you solidify a mechanic and it alienates one of your top tier whales, this all of a sudden, when you lose one person who puts in 5K a year into your game or more, you are not going to get that person back. You just aren't. There's no replacement for that whale. You need to replace that with common people like me who dropped $60 or $100 maybe every quarter or like 6 months on a ship or a concept. I mean, I personally wouldn't ever pre-order a ship in a game that you're pre-ordering. That seems insane to me. I like when I pay for something like Hearthstone packs or like stuff in Warframe, I get that right away and can play with it. And the devs, especially, I just want to shout out to like the Digital Extreme people, and I'm not associated with them in any way, that they do a great job of updating and keeping players really informed and pushing in new mechanics that change the game, but also like testing them. But right now, if you alienate in Star Citizen, if you alienate one of those whales and they don't come back, you're down like a quarter of a percentage, and that doesn't seem like much. But if you keep alienating them, you're not going to have a whole lot of revenue stream.
Yeah, I mean, like, the theory about, the crowdfunding stuff is sort of like that there is a core bunch of whales that are providing at least 85% of the annual income. And then the rest of it comes just from, plebs buying maybe $60 a year. And so when you start to alienate them, especially with like this, to answer an earlier question that you had, Virgil, sort of like, what is the big deal about this new spaceship? Well, I mean, Agent touched upon it, is like, it is a big purchase. It goes up to $900, or actually, one of the packages goes up to $1,250. And so you're asking for a big chunk of change. You're asking for like Idris level money. So like you're asking for a capital ship money for a small little either like an AC-10 Hercules with guns, or just a take transport. And not only that, they have, well, nothing new, but they tested this out with the earlier Origin 100i, when the new starter ships, was that war bonds being cash only up front, was the only way to get LTI on the ship. So it was, the Origin 100i was like a $50, $60, $70 purchase. Oh. I mean, it is small.
So no big
deal in comparison. Yeah, so no big deal in comparison to a $600, $700, $800, $900 purchase. And not only that, it is limited to that war bond. People with gift cards and store credit, a majority of your backers who have that cannot get LTI. And LTI is the one thing where CIG says, oh, it's no big deal, but you can only get it if you give us new money.
Well, this is also another fucking problem. LTI, it's not a big deal. It was a big deal. It's going to be a big deal. No one actually has any concrete idea of what LTI is or what it's supposed to be, how it actually, the gameplay of it results in a net bonus to the person who owns the ship with LTI. And also, why is LTI such a big deal if permadeath is in the fucking game? what is the, like, I don't understand when you talk about death of a spaceman and they're saying, oh, well, when you die, all this shit happens and you're going to die and you're going to have someone take you over. Okay, well then why is my fleet still there? Like,
I think it's mostly because LTI is more for the account rather than for like your role-playing character that you make. And if he dies, it's supposed to be specifically for your account, so long as the player, the customer, is alive.
Yeah, and well, that's the thing though, is that we can speculate all day on what it's going to do, but there's actually no set in stone mechanic right now. There's nothing
6.
that tells us.
Yeah,
exactly. And if you're not, by the way, I know a lot of people say, "Oh, you don't understand game development. Oh, you don't understand game development. Oh, you just don't do it."
There's a lot about this project that doesn't understand game development.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta tell you, if someone came to me, like if anybody that I worked with ever, like it doesn't matter game design or I don't know, making a fucking taco, which are delicious, just not with blue cheese, by the way. So if you're still designing your taco 2 hours or 3 hours or 5 hours into a Taco Tuesday, you're fucked. You're fucked. You need to put those tacos out so people can enjoy them, or tell you what sucks about your fucking tacos.
I 100% agree with you, and it's kind of one of my frustrations is I'd love to see Cloud Imperium start to struggle with some of the big problems, but they can't even get past doors.
Oh my god! I mean, I was just playing the other day. I went in there and took a couple screenshots because one of my artists for Love Pledge, actually, she came back to the project, so she had some extra time to start working again. So I was like, oh great, I'll take some screenshots of what the game, so you kind of get an idea of what I'm going for here. And it was extremely fucking buggy just getting out of my bunk.
Oh, I've been in streams and people have to change servers 2 or 3 times before they can get out of the wank pod.
I mean, this isn't going to. I mean, I was actually. It's funny because I watch a lot of the. I mean, I watch this project a lot. I probably know more about Star Citizen and follow Star Citizen more than games I actually end up playing. Just because I find it very entertaining. But like watching What the Fuck Osaurus and like Bad News Baron and people who like stream this stuff is like, I don't find them having a good time. It's like they struggle just to get out of the bunk, get into their ship, which sometimes doesn't spawn right, or the landing pads are full even though they're all empty, or the server crashes, or they crash and die. Oh, my dog's agreeing with me.
Well, I mean, like, I would agree that they don't enjoy it, but, the old saying is sort of like, you dance for your dinner. And, like, they are getting their subscribers that happen to be, Star Citizen fans and whatnot, that are, giving them the Twitch money in order to keep on doing this. But it's not a fun way to dance for your dinner, I would suspect.
No, I mean, well, really right now, what gets me about Star Citizen is that there's no way to progress. There's no progression system. Like, I could understand, like, I would deal with bugs. I've dealt with bugs. I was in the fucking WoW Friends and Family Alpha, for Christ's sakes, in 2002. Like, you deal with stuff that you don't like because you enjoy the game so much, and you could see the progression in your character. You got levels, you got money. Right now in Star Citizen, you got money, but you can't really buy much with it. You can't like upgrade a ship unless you actually fork out real cash for it. They even
and that money is never guaranteed to be there when you log on next time.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And or either that, or you're like, oh, let me go get all this cargo, and I'm going to do a cargo run to Daymar or whatever the fucking stupid name it is. And you go out there, and then you crash and say goodbye to all the cash you just invested. I mean, that should not be happening. Like, you should be able to come back in and get right back in the game. And that is like one of the key things for an MMO that, a persistent multiplayer world. Let's forget even an MMO, because, I mean, I don't see them having 400 people running around in a single area ever. But just to come back and start playing with your character again in the same spot you were at before. And that just doesn't happen with Star Citizen.
Yeah, I mean, like, I mean, I look at it as sort of say, kind of tailing back to an earlier point, just like how much Turbulent has been doing for CIG. Sort of like one of the things that we were talking about before is like, MoCap is sort of like how much MoCap has Turbulent done for this project outside of what Chris Roberts has overseen himself, like at Imaginarium, or has Chris Roberts actually overseen the Turbulent MoCap?
At this point, I'm assuming all the MoCap is done. I mean, for like the major Squadron 42 stuff, I could be wrong. It looks like they're doing pickup MoCap shots for different stuff. So the directing of that is probably done and gone. They did have a second and third major MoCap shoot with some A-list Hollywood characters not too long ago. I think it was midpoint last year again. And so I think that part is done. And so that was the easy part of the project. The hard part after you're done with mocapping all these people. So you got like, let's say, it was funny. It was on a CIG stream not too long ago where like it was like the close combat animations, right? So you'd have like a guy, all right, we're gonna stab him and then put your gun back up. Well, he stabbed him with an imaginary knife in his hand. Right? Just so it's sort of a fist to the chest, and then pulled up an imaginary gun with his two hands. Now, that's great, and it looks good when you're like just going through the animations. But when you try to actually map that to something in the game, there is a whole mess of cleanup you have to do. I mean, there is just a shitload of cleanup that comes into that. And that's what those, like when the people say, oh, they have 400 people working on this game or whatever. The vast majority of them are artists, and they're cleaning up all that fucking mocap because it takes forever and is very expensive.
I mean, like, isn't it part of it like what is it? Is it the scale? Is it the software translating from mocap to 3DS? I mean, what's the biggest holdup?
Well, all right. So this is why like a lot of the mocap, and you can see this now with the CIG streams. They're doing mocap like a dude walking into a corner, or a dude like doing the combat knife animations or whatever, right?
Or mocapping mopping.
Or mopping, right? You have these. Oh, and of course, my gardeners decide to come today too. That's great. Anyway, sorry for that in the background, but
don't worry about it.
And of course the dog is barking at them too. All right, give me a minute. I'm gonna put the dog in the other room. I'm gonna get the gardeners away. Hold on. Give me
I wouldn't worry
one
about
second.
it at all, my friend.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. I'm gonna go let her bark then. But so the mocap stuff, you do it in small like bursts of 10 seconds, 5 seconds, 7 seconds, stuff like that.
Right.
And then it's easier to translate. So you have your walking animation, which will translate into the slash animation, which will translate to another animation. And then you can also do it like Last of Us did, blend them together with the environment. So your characters, like when you walk up against a wall, you're putting a hand on it. Uncharted did it. I mean, these are stuff that's been around for a decade at this point, right?
Oh yeah, no, you sort of have triggers at the end of these animations that say if space is available, you trigger this information, and then at the end of that animation, sort of like say you're up against the wall and like the animation would be awkward. The trigger says there's no space to do it. Cancel animation. Enemy dead. Move on. Whatever.
Yeah, exactly. And so you have all these different little snippets, and you blend them together. Your animators blend them all together, and hopefully in a seamless way. What you don't do is say, I'm going to shoot this mocap like a movie. Now you can do it. You can do it for stuff that has no player interaction.
Right, for like cinematics.
Cutscene. Yeah, if it's a cutscene or if it's something that the player will never have a hand in, you can do it and kind of easily manipulate that because it's you don't have to worry about the player jumping around.
Yeah, you all you have is the camera perspective and the player, and if you have a loose player in there, he's going to see everything.
Exactly. So, and this is the thing too, where you get back into the old Half-Life 2, where you have these characters that back at the time were very lifelike and talking, and you were like, wow, this is amazing. And then I'm like constantly bunny hopping and being an asshole, like,
yeah.
Fucking what the hell is this? I just want to go use the gravity gun some more. So it's very interesting to shoot let's say, and especially when you're shooting mocap with like a ton of people, like Chris did, like he and some of the scenes I've seen him have like 8 or 9 actors running around with each other, which is insane because you got to remember when that translates into wherever you're putting it, in a ship, on the ground, in a cave, in an office building, in a tower, wherever it's going to be. You have to light that. You have to clothe them. You have to make sure their clothing doesn't like poke through any of the model's body. All the seams. Like you'll have like characters with like their eyes. If you ever had like played a game and it had like bad or weird mocap, you'll notice like sometimes like the hands like clip through the cheek or clip through the gun or clip through, and that's because that artist was like, holy shit. I have 12 hours of game to clean up. I couldn't get to this one little scene. And Mass Effect Andromeda was just full of all of that. And this is what you're getting into right now with...
Oh, yeah, we haven't even talked about, like, geometry and scale. Sort of, like, imagine sort of, like, you're on the flat ground of a mocap studio stage, and then all of a sudden you have to translate that to a slanted in-game proction. I mean, sort of like all of a sudden you have to translate everybody in, and just you have people falling through the architecture. You have scales, sort of like even with like eight or nine people, like the mass scenes that they have is sort of like, okay, how far are these people in a relationship, and they like translate and slide into position, stuff like that.
Right, and this was also one of the leaks from I think 2016, a long time ago, was that the Vandal, no one accounted for their size because they're supposed to be like 8 feet tall. I mean, they're supposed to be huge fucking alien creatures, and they were actually supposed to also. The whole premise of that leak, the whole email, and I only post snippets. I never post the whole thing.
Right.
But there was a lot of that said like they were supposed to crawl, like you were supposed to meet them originally like as a biped, and then be surprised when they can do like an alien crawl up on like the geometry,
the walls.
Yeah, so they'd be climbing over the walls on the and shooting at you and all this stuff. But when they went back to do it, they were like, "Oh, we thought these were like the same size as everybody." So that completely fucked up. When you're talking about a 6-foot character versus an 8-foot character, and you think, "Well, it's not a big deal." It's not a big deal unless the sets you built to showcase these people were all built with 6 feet in mind, because then you have a 2-foot difference, so their heads are clipping through, that kind of shit.
Yeah, I mean, like, so they mocap the Vandal, and now they're dealing with the scale stuff. Am I getting that right?
Well, yeah, but they've been dealing with that. Yeah, they've been dealing with that since the mocap finished. I mean, you can't, and then especially if you have a Vandal and a human in the same scene, and one's supposed to be scaled up to 8 feet, but you didn't actually scale the mocap actor to 8 feet. And no one's actually looking at where his head's supposed to be. They're all looking at where the actor's head is. So now you got to fix their eyeball tracking. You got to fix where their hands are going. I mean, this comes up in games all the time. This isn't like a new problem. This has happened in tons of games. And the artists come in and go like, "Holy shit! Look at all the stuff we have to fix," and then they have to fix it. But when you mocap 20+ hours with a crew of how many A-list actors? I don't know. It seemed like 36 at this point. When you have Superman,
A-list, I'd probably say about 10 A-ish list actors, and everybody else just supporting cast. I think.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm just saying Hollywood type, not like, oh, I found this guy and he's, he was on TV 10
like
years ago.
Yeah,
I'm saying like you're
Dan
actually
Giesling.
So it's one of those things where you just don't like. I don't think he thought that things have changed much. I thought he thought shooting would be the same, but then in post you could do all these amazing effects, and you can. I mean, you can. It just takes a long fucking time if you're not shooting the mocap correctly.
So how much has Turbulent had to do of this?
Oh, I mean, it's anybody's guess. I mean, the stuff that I saw, it's probably they're doing the little pickups of animation, and I guarantee you that CIG is still having outside or third party people trying to work and clean up all their mocap, because I think I posted a long time ago about that. Is that it takes, something like even like just a second of mocap can take a single artist up to an hour or something just to clean up the animation, forget lighting, forget like costume changes, because Chris wanted, when people are off duty, not to be in their armor, or when people were on different planets to be in different armor, and all this stuff. It's not just like, oh, we could just swap it out. And I'm sure that's what he was thinking, but it's not that simple. I mean, the clipping alone can really cause your characters to look, well, cheap, and just really not well put together.
And not up to Chris's standards, of course.
Well, no, I mean, and this is the thing too. If you're saying every scene, every character in every scene needs to look like this is going to be the best looking game ever. And by the way, it's really not anymore. I mean, maybe 3 years ago, but now the stuff that's been leaked to me about other games coming out, and the stuff that I've seen, like holy shit, like 2019 and 2020 are gonna just blow people away. I mean, with how this stuff looks.
Well, I mean, like, we're also talking, like, just how much Turbulent has been, like, shouldered with as a contractor these days. It's sort of like, the other thing wasn't Turbulent the one making the vertical slice for this last sitcom last year?
Tell us about that.
Yeah, so that was I should say the rumor, and I want to just tell everybody, who might be watching this later or whatever, I don't go out. I'm not a journalist. I've said this before like 1,000 times in the thread. I'm not a journalist. I don't go out there and verify everything that I get. A lot of this stuff could be complete crap. A lot of this stuff could be 100% true. I don't verify it. I pull out the stuff that I think is funny, or that I think is relevant, or that I think is true, and change it and post about it. Because really these email dumps, like if I was doing the email dumps, a lot of it is kind of boring, and it's mostly people bitching about their jobs, which I hear about all the time. So just keep that in mind. So everything that you read of mine, I didn't verify, and I never have. And some of it to me just is hilarious, like the Chris Roberts spending a day talking about bomber jackets, or the AMD letter stuff.
Let's talk about the bomber jackets.
So that email was from someone that worked with Chris, and I don't. And also, if I'm being vague, it's because
that's fine.
And if people don't know, if people really aren't in the industry much, or don't know about the gaming industry, it seems like a lot of people work in it, and a lot of people do. A lot of people do work in games, but there's a very small subset of people that work at the top of the gaming industry, that own the companies that make the decisions to hire people or fire people. There's not that many of them, especially in North America. And in Europe, that's changing right now. But in North America, it's a very small amount of people that all are very insular. All of them know each other. And if you talk shit, they're going to tell their buddies, and they're not going to fucking hire you. It's that simple. And I wish it didn't happen. But people even talking shit about, I worked 90 hours this week and got nothing for it. Those people are told to shut up and enjoy the job they have, because they can get somebody to replace them in 2 seconds.
Yeah, I mean, the reality of the video games industry here in North America is it is very much very tightly knit. Well, I guess you could call it a family, in the sense that everybody knows what everybody else is gossiping about. And it's easy to get that black mark on you if you say the wrong thing at the wrong time.
Exactly. Or
that is why we talk about sources. That's why, this is why honestly a lot of people don't come out of their jobs to talk to the press, or to talk on their own blog to say, this is what happened today, sort of like, this is bullshit, sort of like, Chris Roberts is doing this against the wishes. You don't hear that from developers directly, because that is kind of a death sentence in this industry. Sort of like, if you talk shit and your name is associated to that shit talking, you're not going to be working in an industry much longer.
Yeah, exactly. And it's sad that has to happen. But that's not just the game industry. That's a lot of different places. But anyway, going back to
the jackets.
Yeah, the jacket thing. So this person sent me this email, and it was a long rambling email talking about how they couldn't go back to do the same artwork on this one jacket. I believe it was for the model for Rice Davies' character, who we haven't seen in forever, by the way. I mean, he's fallen off the face of the earth on this project, right? And he was an important guy. They had him on several times. Anyway, so I believe it was, and I didn't mention that in the leak. I didn't talk about the Rice Davies character, the bomber jacket, with him specifically, because I think that would have given away something at the time. Now it doesn't matter. But yeah, it's like they were so fed up with having to go back and being like, okay, I've changed the way the collar is now, and it's like a wraparound collar, like a motorcycle jacket, like that. No. I want it to be like a pop collar, like sort of like a half priest was the exact terminology used, which was very confusing. And this is the thing too that I get with most of the leaks that I get. I can kind of tell which ones are on the money because Chris Roberts has a very interesting way of explaining things to people when he's trying to get them to do something.
Game designed by decree?
Not just decree, but like he's not always clear what he wants. Like I get the make that pixel green sort of thing. Yeah. But that was back before you can have an entire costume designed for a person. That's back before you can have the cockpit windshield shininess determined. I mean, so now it's every little step. And I know for a fact, he used to be he was the rubber stamp guy. He was the guy that would be like, okay, everyone send me everything about the game, and I have to prove it. So no matter what it was, if you were an artist working on toenails, you had to send Chris Roberts your proof, like your concept, then the 3D model, and all this stuff. And they were sending him these like they were sending him like 8K or like higher res shots of like all this stuff. And then he'd see it when it was actually translated to the game, and he was like, "What the fuck is this?"
Oh my god!
Why does this stuff not look as good as and trying to explain that it's. I mean, it sounds so ridiculous, and that's why a lot of this stuff I was like, this can't be true. But hearing it over and over and over again from a lot of different people, and some of them I know in person, and talking about the dressing downs in the company and the anger problems and the whole. There's like this whole. I mean, Bucha can probably speak to it too. You were much closer in that whole regard with them, or maybe you can't speak about it. But
is it the 2015 incident?
Yeah,
the mole hunt.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's something I'm saving for a chapter of Sunk Cost Galaxy. But if you want to cite your side of things, do it in brief.
Oh yeah, my thing was several people mentioned that it was going to be a family member interviewing them, which turned out to be something completely different.
Oh yeah.
And so in hearing that from if I just heard that from like one person, I'd be like, okay. And then two people, I'm like, well, maybe they were in some weird meeting. But then 3, 4, 5, 6 people, I go, holy shit, did this actually happen? Did they get a private investigator to interview people? I mean, it's just insane to me. It's just insane.
Well, it sounds like we have a lot to look forward to in Sunk Cost Galaxy. If you haven't seen that, go ahead and check it out. It's on YouTube. Just search Sunk Cost Galaxy. But yeah, getting into those old leaks, the agent you mentioned, some of them seem wild at the time, but over 2 or 3 years they eventually come true. For example, one of your leaks was expect 3.0 features in 2018 at the minimum. Now that was pretty crazy at the time, but here we are in 2018. There's still no way to mine. There's barely a way to trade. I mean, if you can call trading between 2 or 3 outposts trading. What else? It's nuts that it's crazy how many of your leaks come true over time.
Well, yeah, and that's you got to remember that it's game development, like a lot of backers like to say, it's in flux a lot. So there's going to be stuff that I probably ended up leaking that was taken off the table or was not true in the first place, or it was somebody who was working there as the AP and just threw it out there and it got picked up and sent to me. But yeah, there's definitely some according to everyone, like that leak, the 2018 leak, that's no longer good because it came out December 20th something 2017.
I mean, it kind of becomes like we talk about just how long it took 3.0 to get. I mean, 3.0 launched on pretty much the last day of 2017, but not even feature complete. And we kind of think about game design and game making being very much in flux. It's just sort of a case of like time estimates and production costs are very regularly underestimated.
Oh yes, and well that's actually getting into it. It's a whole part of how you go about trying to make your timetable. And so it's better to, as they say, ask for forgiveness than for permission.
Oh, yeah.
So what you do is you severely undercut the time, and there's also a lot of problems with like engineers and stuff who just don't want to tell you no. That happens all the time, because a lot of these guys, like I'm not saying Chris Roberts is 100%, but a lot of people who are in the position that he's in are very alpha type. Get this shit done, and I want to see it on my desk like tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. or whatever. And so you do not want to disappoint these guys, and so you try your hardest to do your job and to do it very well. But to tell them like when like if Chris Roberts came up to me and I was a game designer, he said, okay, I need like 1,000 people fighting in a single area. I wouldn't say, well, I'll get to work on that. I think we can have something for you in 6 months. I'd just tell him, not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. And whoever, if anyone's watching this and you're a backer, this has been leaked to me several times. The scope of the game has already been severely reduced. Sorry, that's the tequila slur coming on. The scope of the game has been severely reduced at this point, and that your multi player cap ships or whatever, they're really not going to be functional ever.
Well.
Will they even be
that really
in-game?
calls into question the ethics of selling this super huge freighter or whatever it is. Guys, let's take a break here. Let's end the episode. Go ahead and give me your outros.
All right, this is Bucha, and I don't know what's going on.
This is the agent, and I'm drunk.
I never introduced myself, but this is your virtual captain. We're coming in for a landing here, and I'll see you next time.